Welcome to the Afterlight Podcast with me, Lauren Grace, a spiritual podcast full of stories and conversations that prove we're never alone. The Afterlight Podcast aims to inspire and educate. Remember, you are the authority on your own life. I encourage you to run everything through your own filter, to take what resonates, and I also urge you to do your own research and consult with qualified professionals for advice on your personal situation. The opinions shared by guests are their own, and any advice by our guests or by me is not a substitute for professional guidance. Thank you so much for listening, and I enjoy journeying back with you to the afterlight. Enjoy the episode. Hello, Lauren Grace here, and welcome so much to the show. This is a solo episode for me, and it's going to be an episode that's a little bit different than some of the ones I've done before, only because I want to start off with a game. We're going to go into the heart and the meat of the episode, which is all about some lessons that I've been learning from the road, and then we'll end off with some bibliomancy. So if you are wanting a little bit of clarity and a little bit of guidance to support you today, then please do stick around because we're going to cover off a lot of that in today's show. So first of all, one of the things that I thought we could do is start off with a bit of a color game. And when I was prepping for the episode today, and by prepping, I mean thinking about what I want to talk to you about, I thought that we could play a little bit of a game where, let me take you through it. So first of all, grab a pen and a paper if you need one. And if you don't have one handy, go ahead and pause the episode and then hit play again when you're ready. And if you don't have a pen or a paper handy, or even if on your phone, you could put this on speakerphone and go ahead and type in, I'd like you to write down these colors. And if you don't have any implements to write anything down, you can just go ahead and just listen out. Okay, so red, orange, pink, blue, purple, green, and indigo. And indigo is like a mix between purple and blue. So now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to circle a color that stands out for you, bold it, or even just bring it to mind. It's always going to be your first intuition, okay? And before we started this practice, I had the intention of asking Spirit to ask you to really focus on the chakra center that could use a little bit of support and a little bit of help right now. So that's going to be the color that you gravitated towards. So what I'll do now is I'll just kind of go through the chakra colors, and then I'll give you some tips and tricks that you can use to really help support that particular chakra center. And you might want to listen up because even if you're familiar with chakras, there might be some new ideas here. But also it's always a good, reminder of the different things that we can do to support the different chakra systems, not only the one that might be calling to our attention right now. So first of all, the color red is the root chakra, which is also the base chakra. So this is all associated with safety and security and feeling, into yourself. And so some of the things that you can do to support that would be to eat red foods such as beets or strawberries or tomatoes. You can also look at bringing in some nice earthy smells, some herbs or some essential oils that really remind you of that, such as cedarwood, or I like cinnamon. This is all about the element of earth. And so earth is all about grounding you, helping you to feel stable and secure. So one practice that you could look at doing is lifting your toes and then putting them back down on the ground with intention. So lift your toes now, put them back down. Whenever I do that, I really notice it helps to really anchor me and get me a little bit out of my head and more into my body. I don't know if you can relate to this, but I'm so often in my mind that being in my body is something that I really need to take effort in doing. So for example, doing yoga or doing practices like dancing or anything that really helped me to center into my body, or things that I really need to be intentional about. Okay, next, let's look at the color orange. So orange is all about the sacral chakra, which is the element of water. That's all about sensuality and creativity and some different things that you can do to really support this chakra center. And also, I will say that I think this chakra center is really important for just like flowing with the movement of life, because when we have creativity and we're inspired, I find that things just like tick over faster, magic and miracles are created easier, and that's because we're really flowing with the vibes of life, okay? So what you want to do to support this, again, you can eat those orange foods. You can bring in, like maybe oranges or carrots, pumpkin, that kind of thing. But then you can also do things that are like creative. So you can draw, you can paint, you can even do dancing, you can do writing, cooking, anything like that to really stimulate your creativity. This is also going to be helpful with enhancing your sensuality. So if you're wanting to enhance your sensuality, your sexuality, looking at things that are beautiful in your life, maybe even looking at the clothes that you're wearing and making some different fashion choices to really help you to step into who you are and feeling more sensual, more sexual in yourself. You can also invite in music and movement, which is going to help that chakra to really start to bloom and blossom. Okay. Spirit's also telling me that you could invite in some flowers into your life. So maybe looking at orange flowers, which ones are you gravitating towards? And can you have them in some of the rooms? And when you smell them, in your home, you're kind of reminded about, oh yeah, I'm going to smell and breathe in that beautiful floral scent into my sacral chakra space. Yellow. Yellow is the solar plexus, which is the element of fire. And so yellow, it's funny because when I was thinking about writing this all up, I was really drawn to wanting to tap on my tummy and really wanting to move in the energy in that space. So I'm doing that now. You might hear in the background. Maybe go ahead and do that for yourself, even if yellow wasn't a color that you chose. Energy can get really stuck and stagnant. And so when we do little things like tap, 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 it really can help to move and dislodge that energy and kind of get it flowing and going, okay? One of the things you can do to help with yellow is swaying or stretching or dancing, anything that's really going to make you feel confident, strong, and powerful. All right. Now you can also bring in yellow, herbs or like teas, even like chamomile tea. You could even have that on ice with some honey or something like that. Do something special for yourself there. You can invite in some ginger or lemon. I like the idea of ginger because ginger's got that heat to it. So it really supports the fire and can really bring in some of that movement and energy into that spot. I feel like the solar plexus chakra is all about courage, right? And it's about stepping into your own power. And so sometimes what we need to do is invite in those elements of fire to really liven that area up. Okay, green. Green is the heart center element of air. One thing that you could do if you picked the color green would be right now to put your left hand on your heart and your right hand over your left hand and just do some deep breaths in. Let's just do it together for a moment. Breathing in. Breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. You can actually just start to breathe in the love that you have for your family. Breathe in the love that you have for your friends. Breathe in the love for your animals. Breathe in the love that you have for yourself. Connecting with the heart center, I think, is the most important thing. And we have a beautiful episode here on the show which features Beloved, and it's a heart breath healing. So if you just do a little search wherever you listen to your podcast for the Afterlight Podcast with Beloved, it will come up, and go ahead and follow that. That's just a 10-minute beautiful heart healing meditation where you can really connect with your heart and really expand and grow into that love. Other things you can do to support green, of course, are going to be eating those green vegetables. So like broccoli, spinach, green apples. And then you can also bring in different essential oils and herbs, green herbs, like basil, or you could bring in rosemary or thyme, anything green, anything like that that's gonna, with the intention of like opening up into the heart space. Now you can also bring in things like rose. Rose is gonna be all about love, because you can't kind of overlook the heart space without talking about love. Again, it's just all about intention and you really listening out for what's gonna be supporting you. Okay. Also crystals. I actually haven't even talked that much about crystals today. So you could bring in any kind of green crystal. You could bring in rose quartz, anything like that. That's really going to help and accentuate the greenness of your beautiful green heart chakra. Blue, this is the throat chakra. This is connected to space. This is all about expression, truth, and communication. If you're having a hard time speaking up for yourself or speaking about something in your life, you could do things like you could take one of your hands, whichever one is feeling connected to you. Now, I would do the right hand personally and put it over my throat and really just send myself some love and support there. You can even massage the area gently, doing anything like that to really kind of almost like dislodge any blockages that are in there. You could also bring forth blue like clothing. You could start to wear things that are blue. You could start to bring in blue crystals. I love Young Living products, and there's a really beautiful, it's more indigo, I guess, but there's like a essential oil called Valor, and Valor is all about like being strong and courageous, and you could always smell or use an essential oil like that to really help you with speaking. You can do chanting or singing or humming. I remember one time I listened to a Wayne Dyer meditation and he was chanting, and I thought, this is the worst thing I've ever heard, because it was like really hard to listen to. And then I gave it a go myself, and I found that after I was chanting for a while, I actually could sustain the note longer, and it actually helped me to feel really empowered and kind of freeing that space. It's almost like getting rid of all the cobwebs in that area. Again, looking at blue foods like blueberries or even purple cabbage, blackberries, things like that that have those blue tinges, those can assist you as well. There's never going to be like a wrong way of doing anything. It's just more about you kind of noticing that, oh, hey, maybe there's this aspect in myself that I can give a little bit more of attention to, and then taking the time to do that. Indigo, if you chose indigo is a lot about that purple color primarily. So foods like eggplants and plums and even purple grapes can really assist you with that. The indigo is all about light and intuition, vision and clarity. This is your third eye chakra space. So one thing that you can do is really start to notice different colors and different shapes and patterns around you. That can really help to support your intuition center as well, in terms of like being able to visualize stronger. You can also look at using your imagination. So reading books and then really honing in on the different descriptors to really bring them to life in your mind. That can help you to accentuate that area. And then also you can rub the third eye. I like to rub it in a, what am I doing right now? So if I were rubbing my own third eye, it would be in a clockwise formation. That's what feels right for me right now. For you, it might be the opposite, okay? You might want to be like, oh, anti-clockwise and like invite in, or then clockwise and invite out. That's really what's resonating with me right now, is clockwise, is kind of like freeing that space up to see clearly. Purple is all about the chakra that is connected to the crown, and this is like our spirit center. This is all about thought space, but also spirit. For me, it's all about connection to purpose. So anything that you can do to accentuate that's going to be connected to meditation or praying or focusing and spending time on like really listening to your intuition in terms of like what sets your heart alight. Another thing that you can do is really look at this. If you got purple, it may be that you want to really connect a little bit more to spirit. You may need to do some energy clearing or cleansing. That might be working with an energy worker, or you could even just do like different visualizations where you bring in light from your crown chakra and run it all the way through your body out to the bottom of your feet and then into Mother Earth to be absorbed, and just like look at cleansing yourself that way. We've got a beautiful episode on the show with Veronica McClintock from Veronica Healing Center, and she does a whole ball of light meditation, which is so beautiful for clearing and cleansing that energy. It's actually one of my first episodes. You have to go way, way, way back to enjoy that. But that's a really good way of getting started, of clearing and cleansing your energy from the crown so that you can open up to spirit connection, universal wisdom, and really, strengthen your connection to spirit. And then finally, pink. It's so funny because I always used to look at heart chakra as just green. And then I was doing a bunch of hypnotherapy stuff with Dick Sutphin. He's passed, but on Hay House and Powers, radio app, you can actually use a lot of his hypnotherapy stuff on there. And he always talked about the heart center being pink. And I learned that that's like the higher heart is pink. So I wanted to invite that in today. So pink, again, is all about the heart space, but I had the intention of pink being a lot more about self-compassion and self-love and understanding and really growing in love and support for ourselves. All right. So maybe one thing that you could do is write yourself a love letter, or just write yourself a letter of support and encouragement. Another thing you can do is really just remember that you can choose to see things with the eyes of love and compassion, and not be so hard on yourself for things. We really are doing the best that we can with the tools that we have right now. And as we learn and grow, we do better. So different herbs that you can bring in, again, bringing back that rose. You can also look at bringing in geranium, helichrysum, I think that's how you pronounce that. That's a little bit of a more expensive oil, but it's really beautiful for emotional healing. And that may be something that you want to look at doing as well if you're really picking the pink color, because pink could be a lot about giving yourself a bit of a break and taking time to really do that self-care and get to know yourself, a little bit better, and just doing that tenderness and emotional healing that you rightfully deserve. Okay. So hopefully you found that practice was helpful and not boring. I don't really know. Let me know. Did you enjoy that or not? Have you listened this far, or did you get lost and flipped ahead and you only wanted to hear your color? We'd love to hear some feedback. If you want more stuff like that too on the show, please do let me know. So I thought today on the show I would share some lessons from the road. And the reason for that is because my husband and I, we sold our house a couple months ago, and we bought a bus, and now we live on the road. And so I'm recording the show from different locations, and I'm experiencing different things, and I live in a bus, so I really had to do a lot of downsizing and a lot of giving away. I have some things in storage, but in general, I did do a lot of decluttering. And so I thought it might be a little bit of some fun for me to kind of reflect on how I've been going the last few months, but also to just maybe share with you a couple of things that I've learned along the way and see if they might inspire you as well. So one of the things that I think is a really big deal to me is that I was really not doing very well with work-life balance. So when I worked from home before, I had an office and I could leave it and then go on the property and, experience other things. But when I am working in the bus, it's very often so much of the bus is now my workspace when I'm in here. And I was really getting in the habit of working almost all the time and forgetting to create space in my day to work and then space in my day to not work. And so one of the things that I have wound up doing is to create more concrete work hours. And then after those work hours are done, to then put work away. I've also started talking to a therapist, which is really great. I never really thought I needed one, but then I found that I sometimes carry a lot of stuff in my head. And so when I'm able to talk to somebody about it, it's been very helpful. So I've really enjoyed doing that. Anyway, one of the things that they recommended to me was to have a bit of a practice when I'm done work every day. So have a bit of a routine or a ritual that I do to kind of remind myself that the workday is done. Because if you work for yourself, very often the workday is not done because the list of things you need to do never ends. So when I'm knocking off, I know that that can wait until tomorrow, or that can wait until another day. And I just thought that was really cool. So maybe have a think about that for yourself if you can relate to this at all. Leaving room for spontaneity is another thing that I've been learning on the road. So you have to schedule and book into different caravan parks and campgrounds and things like that to a degree, right? But you also want to leave room for spontaneity. So it's kind of like, I guess it's pretty much about trusting the universe that, you know, we're going to book in when we're meant to, and we're going to leave room for spontaneity when we're not meant to. And one of the things that I love about leaving room for spontaneity is we allow the universe to wow us, right? We allow the universe to come in and go, ooh, check this out, or look at this opportunity, or stay here a little bit longer because you're going to meet that person and this is going to happen. And I think that those are the moments that when we can look at getting out of our own way, that's when we can truly be guided by God. That's when we can truly be in flow with life. And I am not always the best at that. I'm not going to lie to you. I want to control a lot. I want to have the guarantee of a certain outcome and a certain future. And that can make things difficult in terms of like my spirit guides are like, yeah. But it can also stop us, I think, from experiencing life where we are when we're so focused on where we're going to be tomorrow, what we're going to be doing later. So the living on the road and learning to be a little bit more spontaneous has been really helpful for me. It's also been very good for me to kind of like lighten up a little bit because a lot of places where we're staying are really dusty. And I like to have everything clean, and like I don't have like a OCD thing where like everything has to be certain pristine cleanliness, but everything's got to be tidy, you know, all the time. But sometimes it's going to be dusty like every day. So wiping down the surfaces all the time, but then not taking that on. Right now there's a fly flying around in my house, and I'm in my bus, and I'm like, oh God. But it allows me to just kind of chill out and to just not be such a head case. Yeah. All right. I'm having a sip of my coffee. I am a Canadian. I live in Australia, but I'm a Canadian. And, you know, I hope my fellow Canadians won't, you know, be offended by this. But I think one of the things that we love doing is buying in bulk. And we buy big sizes and things like that. And I love that. I mean, you can take the Canadian out of Canada, but you can't take that part out of the Canadian. And so I love having a pantry that's full of different options. And if things are on sale, I like to buy a couple of them. Or if it's cheaper, more economic to buy things in bulk or bigger sizes, I'm going to do that. But when you live in a bus, you have to be really intentional about the things you are purchasing because you have such limited space. And I have the smallest fridge. Okay, I shouldn't say it's the smallest fridge in the world. It's pretty small though. It's maybe like double the size of a bar fridge in the fridge area. And then the freezer area is maybe the size of a bar fridge or a little smaller. It's hard for me to explain it exactly because I don't understand about liters and fridges and things like that. But it's a small fridge. So a lot of things that I would keep in my old fridge, I could not even fit in here. So one of the lessons of the road from this is really to buy what you need, use it up, and then buy more. And what's nice about that is you always have fresh options, but you're also kind of like forced to use up the things that you have when normally I might have gone, oh, I don't want to eat that. And I would have left something for like months or even years in some cases because I'm just not inspired or I'm not really like forced to have to give them a go. So I've really enjoyed that part too about, you know, being on the road is where you look at your food and you go, okay, so we have a motorhome and we don't have a separate car. So when we go grocery shopping, we have to pack up our whole entire life and go to the things. So after we've done grocery shopping a few days later, we start to kind of look and go, okay, well, what are the things we have here that we need to eat up before we go back and grocery shop? And it allows you to be a little bit more creative. Now, that being said, I'm eating a lot of salads, which is probably not that creative, but I'm definitely looking at the foods that I have and using them up versus hoarding everything. I think that also helps with the flow of life, right? When you're not like feeling the need or the pressure to really hang on to stuff so much, that you can go, okay, I realize now that if I use it up, that I create space for new things to enter into my life. And that's a metaphor for, more than just food. One thing I've also been doing a lot more of, and this took me, I'm not even going to lie to you, the work-life balance thing took me about 7 weeks to realize what I was doing was not going to be very good for me long term, because I was spending so much time working. So what I do now is when I knock off for the day, I get to enjoy a book. I just reread The Hunger Games and it was awesome. I'm doing a lot of reading. Sometimes I'll have a nap, and it's just been really indulgent in that way. And it's just reminding me to connect with the things that I love in my life. And books are a really big part of that. So that's been really great. I also want to say one of the lessons that I've learned from the road is that socks and sandals do go together. They go together if you just decide to rock that look. I hate having dirty feet, and so when you are living in like a caravan park, there's a lot of dust, and it can be very difficult to keep feet clean all the time. So I am that person who's rocking the sandals and the socks almost all the time. And I just want to say that I'm going to bring that look back. Feel free to join me on that journey. Tag me in any of your sandal and sock photos. And I'm only kidding, but I'm also not kidding either, because I really am rocking this look, and what else can I do but just own it? Okay, that's pretty much what I wanted to share. Maybe it's not huge aha moments, but these are reflections of, my life. And I also want to say too, that I've restarted my yoga practice. And if you've been listening to me at all over the years, you'll know that I've really had challenges with keeping that going. And I've done 5 yoga practices now in about 7 days. And it's great. There was somebody at the caravan park teaching yoga at 7 a.m. and I went to 3 of her classes, and I've done 2 of my own now. And it was from the first class that I did where I went, oh wow, this is me coming home to myself again. And I forgot that that's all I needed to do. So if you're just not feeling yourself, or you're kind of going, things just aren't really, like maybe you don't feel connected to your heart or yourself or your passion, or, even loving yourself, or just centered in life or anything like that, I really can't stress enough that yoga for me really helps me a lot. I met a woman on a plane one time, and she goes, yoga is what you do when you love yourself. And I agree with that. There's so many free yoga classes you can get online that can really assist you if this is something that you're interested in looking into. And I can send you some ideas if you want as well. But I just can't reinforce enough that me doing my yoga practice really has helped me to just center into who I am. And I noticed a difference between when I was doing yoga and when I wasn't. And the day I started doing yoga, I was just feeling so much happier and better than I had in a long time. And that was the only thing that I'd changed. All right, just before we wrap up, I'll do a little bibliomancy here from the Surrender Experiment book by Michael Singer. I'd like you to go ahead and think of your question if you're wanting a little bit of guidance. Okay, and we'll go with this little paragraph here. So there'll be something for you in this. This is taken from page 31, and it's near the top. And I'm going with this section that I actually underlined in the past, which I think is a pretty good indication of what I was supposed to read. I had clearly seen that it was this scared person inside of me who was holding me back from where I so desperately wanted to go. I needed to be free of him, so I took a deep breath and flowed into a full lotus position. I began the moo sound inside my belly in a vain attempt to drown out what the voice was trying to say. To me, it was like an act of commitment. Which do you care about, outside or inside? It's kind of a nice, support for the whole yoga thing. But that book's a lot about yoga and meditation in terms of coming into yourself and centering. All right. Thank you so much for listening this far. If you enjoyed the show, please do share it with your friends. And again, you can hit me up over on Instagram if you ever want any recommendations of episodes that might be suited to you. Any categories that you love, anything that you're looking for some help in, I'm happy to direct you. All right. Much love. Thanks again for listening. Bye. Hi. Thanks so much for listening to the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave us a review where you listen to your podcasts and share it with your friends. Thank you. New episodes every Thursday.